I was servicing my daughter's spinning reel, an older model Daiwa Crossfire. They're a 1000 series, so they're a ultralight reel. These have been really good reels, and I've cleaned up hers, and I'm getting ready to go to his. They've held up really well. Haven't had any problems with them, and they're pretty inexpensive too. If anybody's looking for a small ultralight, let's see, it's a Crossfire 1000, 3 ball bearings, line capacities, looks like 2 pound test will hold 240 yards and 4 pound test 120. They've been using braid on these, and they've caught some pretty decent fish on them too. Some catfish, you know, somewhere in 3 to 5 pound range would be the largest fish they probably caught on these. They've held up just fine without any problems. So if you're looking for a cheap ultralight, I don't think they make it exactly the same way anymore, but if the new Crossfires are made the same kind of quality as those, they're pretty nice reels for the money. The only thing I don't like about them is they use a pinion gear, and the main drive gear are both alloy, so they're going to wear a little faster. And I could see some signs of wear, but considering they've had these for 3 or 4 years now, it's nothing I'm going to complain about for sure. When I was servicing her reel, I took apart her drag and I cleaned everything up on it. And I remembered while I was doing that, when I first started out working on fishing reels and I tried to service drag washers, I'd end up with a problem occasionally. As drag was being pulled, the drag would actually get tighter. And I was thinking about that, and I said, you know, I bet if I made that mistake when I was getting started, I bet a lot of other people have the same problem and don't know what's going on there. So let's just take a look at the drag washers. And if you got a drag washer stack, you'll have several washers with metal washers in between, several drag washers with metal washers in between. So if you keep everything in order, you're not going to run into any problems. What happens is sometimes you get things mixed up and this little tabbed washer ends up on top. What happens is if this washer ends up on the top of the stack of drag washers, as the spool turns, it's going to turn this tabbed washer with it. And if that was on top of the stack and it starts turning, what actually happens is with that tabbed one on top, it will actually tighten this knob with it as it turns, if that makes sense. So it will then be tightening the drag as drag's being pulled on it, which is definitely not a good thing. And the reason for that is because the tabbed washer, this little piece right here fits inside of here, and if you've got some decent drag pressure on it, as that's turning, this can't turn freely like it's supposed to because of that tabbed washer being on top. It will actually tighten your drag down while drag's being pulled. So in order to prevent that, you got to make sure that this tabbed washer actually is in the middle of the stack and not on the top. When you're putting these back together, they usually go, you'll have a friction washer on the bottom, then you'll have one of your metal washers on top of that, another friction washer, then the tabbed washer will go in the middle, then another friction washer, and then just a regular metal washer there. So now what happens is the one on top can spin inside of here because it's not tabbed into these slots on the spool. So if you get them in the correct order, even if you got a lot of pressure on here, like I'm pushing down really hard on this right now, they spin independently of each other because this washer isn't physically attached to the spool. So if you have a problem with your drag getting tighter as drag's coming out, or if you have a problem with it loosening when you don't want it to, either way, depends on which direction your rotor spins. Check that tabbed washer in your drag stack if you serviced it and make sure that it's not on top. That's probably the problem. So I just thought I'd share that with y'all. It's just a quick short video, and I was working on that reel and I thought, man, I bet somebody else has had that problem before too. Hopefully it helps somebody out. Y'all take care and tight lines.